know you're somewhere, somewhere.
Hey guys, I'm Kent and welcome back to my channel. So a few weeks ago, I went to the Apex Racing Center and did my first track day on my 2022 Honda Grom. I had a great time, and when I got back, I thought, man, I should build a dedicated track Grom. So I set out searching for a cheap Grom that I could just put good tires and suspension on and make that a track dedicated bike that I wasn't too worried about crashing or anything really. Currently here in San Diego, even the most clapped out 2014 Honda Grom is going for like $3,000 or more. And after spending a lot of time trying to find a bike that got even close to meeting what I was looking to spend, I gave up. I did start thinking though, the fact that I have this 2019 Honda Monkey that I haven't had on the channel for a while, and I ride occasionally, but from a modding perspective, I had pretty much considered it finished. I'd been spending most of my time on my two 2022 Honda Groms, but I was sitting in the garage staring at this bike, and I realized there's no reason I couldn't turn this into my dedicated track bike. So that's exactly what I'm gonna do. You can see I already have the PMT racing slicks. These are both the medium compound on the front and the rear. At this point, I'm really going by other folks that are into tracking mini motos. I'm still very new to the track environment, let alone specifically for the mini bikes. So there's a lot of folks out there that have been helping me out as I figure out exactly how to set this bike up. But I have a lot of things planned to make this bike a track bike, which is fun because I love modding bikes, and now I've got a great excuse to keep working on this one. So in addition to the PMT racing slicks, you can also see I don't have a fender at the moment. I ordered a new smaller fender that I think is going to look a little bit better. Thank you SB Moto for letting me know that fender that you're running, because that's the look that I want for this bike. But on the video today, I was going to install some suspension. I reached out to steadygarage and asked about the types of suspension that they have for the Honda Monkey, and I ended up purchasing the Gears Racing setup. This is a pretty nice setup, and I'll link in the description below to it if you're interested in picking up a set. I did consider the Öhlins, but like every other bike where I've considered Öhlins first, it only comes in yellow, and yellow would look terrible on this. The finish of these shocks look amazing, and I can't wait to get them on the bike. The shocks that I have on there currently, I put on, and I actually did a video, at this point it was a couple of years ago, and I was rewatching that video, and I was pretty clear that I was doing it just for the look. The stock shocks on the 2019 Monkey came with a silver shock with a red coil, but the red was a very bright red. It was not the same red as the rest of the bike, so I wasn't a fan of the way that it looked. I bought these off of eBay. I'm not even sure for how much, but sitting on the bike, especially now that I have good suspension on some of my other bikes, I realize how terrible the suspension is. The dampening is weird and squishy, and the spring rate is so high that I barely move the shock up and down. So the bike should perform quite a bit differently with a high quality set of shocks, and particularly on the track where it's really important is the reason that I decided to go with a really high-end set. Installation of this couldn't be more simple. It's going to be a matter of removing these two 14mm acorn nuts, pulling the old set off and putting the new ones on. Anyway, let me open up this box real quick and show you what these shocks look like. So this is the Gears H2 shock. You can see that it has a black spring. There's quite a bit of adjustability for the preload and the rebound and the overall ride height. It kind of has a bronze silver finish that I think contrasts the black spring pretty well, and I think will look good on the bike. But a very high quality shock, and I'm expecting it to improve the ride quality on this bike drastically. Again, removal and then installation should just be a matter of removing and replacing these two 14mm acorn nuts. And being supported by only one shock, it did compress a little bit. So I'm actually going to, let's see, I may actually just try to stand on my lift here so that I can raise it up and get this on. I'm going to torque these down to 22 foot-pounds. Okay, that looks really nice. Let me get the other side on. Okay, that installation couldn't have been more simple. Let me get it off the lift. I want to ride it around a little bit and do some initial adjustments, and then I'll get it back up here to close out this video. All right, so that's a night and day difference. It's amazing how much different good suspension feels on the bike. I made some slight tweaks to the preload just so that I was getting the right amount of sag, but all of the other adjustments I'll work on making once I'm at the track and I'm putting this bike through its paces. It feels a lot more like the Racing Bros suspension setup that I have on the Grom. I also have the Racing Bros front springs in the front forks of this bike. I had initially put them in the Grom, then I did the full front kit from Racing Bros in the Grom and moved the springs into this. Honestly, I like the way that the springs alone feel. It feels quite a bit like the Grom setup, just with about medium preload. But yeah, I think I'll probably leave the springs only for now. Again, as I spend more time on the track and become a more proficient rider that can tell the difference that different suspension is making, I may make changes there in the future. But I'm happy to have this bike back up on the lift. This is the bike actually that started this YouTube channel for me way back in 2019. I've had a lot of great time on it, and I've learned a lot modding this bike. So happy to be back modding it again for a different purpose, and hopefully it'll start seeing a lot more ride time. Anyway, thank you again, Steady Garage, for setting me up with this awesome Gears Racing rear suspension setup. I'll link again directly in the description below to this product. I've got a lot more cool products coming to make this a track bike, and again, I'm really excited to become more track focused, not just in the build, but also in my skill set too. So anyway, thank you everybody very much for watching. Stay tuned for more videos and keep on building.